When a movie is as good and critically acclaimed as Interstellar is, it's easy to just look at the good and sort of gloss over any of the bad, or plot holes. Especially when the movie is science fiction and although based in reality is obviously taking some liberties. I recently watched Interstellar again and started thinking, there are some things in the movie that just don't make sense. Not like I'm confused about them, although I am, but they really just don't make sense. In a movie like Interstellar, where there's technically time travel and a lot of things that are very theoretical, it's easy to just brush it off and ignore it. But the entire movie relies on these events to work. So what's the problem? Before I get to that, I want to go over other issues I have with the movie, one of them being bad writing. Once they enter the black hole, they know that 1 hour on Miller's planet is 7 on Earth. If what they're saying is true and that time is a resource, maybe even the most important one, because they're racing against the clock for extinction on Earth, wouldn't they make the trip to other planets first before going to Miller's? Say it takes 3 months to Man's planet and then another 2 months to Edmund's. They should check those first as to save time, and then if they even need to, go to check Miller's planet. And I get that later in the movie they discover they don't have the fuel to go to these planets and whatever, but that's only after they do all these things at different planets such as Miller's and Man's. They could have gone to these other planets that wouldn't take as much time from them. Another thing in the same scene that is just sort of dumb is they were surprised that when they got down on Miller's planet that it had only been a couple hours since the last person had arrived, as by seeing their ship down there. One last thing about this scene is that it says they will need about 45 minutes to an hour to reset the engines and drain the water. So then, after that, there's unbroken dialogue for about 4 to 5 minutes, then they see a wave and need to leave. There was never any break in time for the 45 to an hour to happen. And yes, they did leave without the engines finishing draining, but it said it only needed a few more minutes. Small things. My biggest problem with the movie though is one I've seen other people talk about and something that I thought of right after watching. The wormhole was placed there a little over 40 years ago, right? And we find out later in the movie that the people who placed the wormhole there, them as they're called, were actually us. Humans from the future as fifth dimensional beings. They're who constructed the black hole tesseracts, they're really how any of this happened. But if they are us, it leaves a few questions. First and most importantly, how did the wormhole get placed there by them if the only way that we were saved was through the wormhole? I'm sure that sounds confusing, so I'll try to explain it better. This wormhole was made from humans from the future, right? Yet, these humans from the future shouldn't exist because without these future humans, the present day humans wouldn't have survived, which means the wormhole would have never been placed. It's similar to the grandfather paradox where if you were to travel back in time and kill your dad before you were born. The problem with that is that if you kill him before you were born, you wouldn't be alive to kill him. See what I'm saying? Apply that to Interstellar and it unfortunately just doesn't seem to work. Now, even though it's not stated in the movie, there are a few ways to get around this problem. Either, every time a paradox like this happens, a new separate universe is created, and you're put into that, which could explain this I guess, but that doesn't really solve the problem. Another idea is that since the start of the universe at the Big Bang, the future is set in stone, and everything that can happen will happen, and in a sense has happened. So these fifth dimensional beings can just go through time like that because that's what they do. But in that case, why not just fix Earth themselves? So probably unlikely. One last thing I saw somewhere, sorry I don't exactly remember where, please let me know if you do figure this out, is this. Back on Man's planet, when Cooper and Matt Damon fought, Matt Damon said that the last thing you see when you're dying is your children. So, in this theory, none of the stuff we see actually happened. It was all a quick flash in Cooper's head before he died, either on Man's planet or in the black hole. Other smaller things that play into this is when he's in the black hole using the Tesseract, he wouldn't have known the coordinates without himself giving them to him. But he wouldn't be able to get them without him already knowing them, another paradoxical type thing. All of this probably makes it sound like I hate this movie or something, but Interstellar is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. There are a few things that bug me as you can see because I just ranted about them for however long, but overall this movie is still very solid and one of Christopher Nolan's best. But hey, who knows?